There's a new tourist spot in India and it's part of what the Modi government calls Bharat Ranbhoomi Darshan. This year, India's Ministry of Defence is planning to open its active battlefields and geopolitical zones for visitors, paving way for some of the country's most iconic and inaccessible war zones to transform into tourist destinations. Now, these areas include spots near India's border with China at the tense line of actual control, Galwan Valley, Doklam and 75 other such forward locations that have witnessed military action in the past few years. My colleague Sahil Suhail went to one such spot, which is the Galwan Valley, and got exclusive coverage of how the armed forces and civil administration are preparing to welcome tourists. Times Network is the first media network to report from the Galwan Valley after the 2020 clashes.
In 2020, India and Chinese army had a major face-off in Galwan Valley, wherein our Jawans offered supreme sacrifices to protect the borders, to protect the integrity of our nation. Now, Times Now is the first news channel to report from Galwan Valley. My Vijay Shafiq will show you these exclusive visuals of Galwan Valley. Right on your screen is Galwan River, which basically merges with the Shok River here in Galwan Valley. And these are those mountain peaks where, in fact, the clash between Indian and Chinese army was witnessed. It was basically initiated by Chinese, but the Indian army Jawans offered supreme sacrifices, defending the integrity of our country, defending the borders here on line of actual control. Here on these mountain peaks, our Jawans basically, in fact, fought and foiled all attempts of enemies making any advancements. Now, this area is strategically important for our nation, for our security forces, because this valley is very close to Aksai, which at the moment is under the control of China. And then this valley also gives access to Daulat Beg Odi, which is the world's highest airfield. Braving extreme weather conditions, Indian armed forces continue to patrol and dominate every single inch of line of actual control. We're reporting from Ground Zero. Times Network is the first media network to report from eastern Ladakh, in fact, from an area which is close to line of actual control. And here, my Vijay Shafiq will show you these exclusive pictures of ITBP Jawans demonstrating for us how this patrolling is being conducted on line of actual control. The patrolling, in fact, joint patrolling was restarted from last year in the month of October, and this continues. There are multiple challenges that our armed forces had to face, in fact, during winters, particularly at this place, where from we are reporting it's around 17 to 18,000 feet above the sea level, and at the same time you can see all this area is under snow. These high mountain peaks which are being dominated by our forces are under snow cover. The minimum temperature that's recorded at this place, in fact at some posts which are on these mountain peaks, is minus 40 degrees, and at this point in time when we are reporting it's minus 18. In fact, here these army in these ITBP Jawans are in fact braving these extreme weather conditions and continue to dominate every single inch of this line of actual control.
Now, these terrains are not the most human-friendly. These are brutal weather conditions with sub-zero temperatures and physical as well as mental health risks that our soldiers brave every minute.
लाइन ऑफ एक्चुअल कंट्रोल पर आपकी तैनाती है, हमें बताइए कि किस तरह की चुनौतियों का आपको सामना करना पड़ता है और जो आपका मनोबल है वो कैसे बना रहता है?
यहाँ मौसम की सबसे ज़्यादा मुश्किल होती है, इसे टफ मौसम में हमें रहना पड़ता है। यहाँ एक्लेमेटाइजेशन हम करते हैं, नीचे से आते हैं, उसके पहले हमें ट्रेनिंग दी जाती है इसके लिए। और दूसरा, यहाँ भी जैसे आप देख रहे हैं ठंड बहुत ज़्यादा होती है, तो उसके हिसाब से हमें ये क्लोथिंग वगैरह इससे यूज़ करते हैं। और मुश्किल होती है यहाँ सांस लेने में, चलने में, इसके हिसाब से हम उसके लिए हम फिजिकल ट्रेनिंग करते हैं, योगा करते हैं। आज मौसम साफ है तो आउटडोर करते हैं, चलते हैं, रनिंग और पैदल चलते हैं, डेली आउटडोर में जाते हैं, कुछ ना कुछ इवेंट करते रहते हैं जिससे कि हमारा फिजिकल भी अच्छा रहे और मौसम के अनुसार हम अपने आप को ढाल सके। यहाँ उससे हम काफ़ी मुश्किल होती है ऐसे मौसम में सांस लेने में भी, बात करते करते भी सांस फूल जाती है यहाँ।
अभी आपकी जो ड्यूटी है वो लाइन ऑफ एक्चुअल कंट्रोल पे यहाँ आपकी तैनाती है। सबसे पहले तो मैं आपसे पूछना चाहूंगा कि देशवासियों को आके आपका क्या संदेश होगा, और इतनी कड़ाके की ठंड है, बर्फबारी हो रही है, हाई ऑल्टीट्यूड है, काफी बुलंदी पे हैं हम इस वक्त, तो इन चीजों को कैसे आप टैकल करते हैं, कैसे फेस करते हैं?
सबसे पहले तो सभी देशवासियों को जय हिंद। सर, मैं ये कहना चाहूंगा, देशवासियों के लिए संदेश देना चाहूंगा कि भारत देश के वासियों, आप निश्चिंत होकर अपने घरों में बैठे रहें। सीमा के सजग प्रहरी बॉर्डर पर 2400 घंटे तैनात है। हम अपने बॉर्डर से अपनी तरफ को दुश्मन तो क्या, उनकी हवा को भी नहीं गुजरने देंगे। जय हिंद।
जय हिंद।
Now, while the security forces ensure border dominance, the civil administration is also gearing up to build up on the infrastructure. Sahil spoke with the Chief Executive Councillor of Ladakh, Tashi Gyaltsen. Listen in.
गलवान वैली को भी प्लान है खोलने का पर्यटकों के लिए, और उसमें क्या आर्मी के साथ टेकअप हुआ है मैटर?
देखिए, गलवान के लिए जो है हम पिछले साल से जो है हम काफ़ी कोशिश कर रहे हैं कि ये भी जो है टूरिज्म के लिए खोलना चाहिए, और बहुत सारे जगहों पे हमारा चर्चा हुआ। हाल ही में जो है मैं माननीय होम मिनिस्टर जी से भी मैं मिला था, तो उनको भी मैंने एक रिप्रेजेंटेशन दिया कि गलवान को जो है टूरिज्म के लिए एक्सेसिबल करना चाहिए, और नॉट इन दी डीप इनसाइड इंटीरियर बट टू सर्टेन पॉइंट जहाँ पे हमारा मेमोरियल एक बना हुआ है, और कुछ वहाँ पे इंफ्रास्ट्रक्चर भी अभी डेवलप्ड हुआ है। और हमने भी कहा था कि पिछले साल हमारा काफ़ी मीटिंग्स वगैरह हुआ था आर्मी के साथ कि हम ही इंफ्रास्ट्रक्चर अगर चाहिए तो हम ही डेवलप कर सकते हैं, और डेवलप करके इसको टूरिज्म के लिए खोल देना चाहिए। लेकिन बाद में फिर इसमें आर्मी ने कहा कि इंफ्रास्ट्रक्चर में हम ही मदद कर लेंगे, और सब मिलके हम सबका कोशिश यही होगा कि गलवान को जल्द से जल्द हम टूरिज्म के लिए खोल दें। और हमें उम्मीद है कुछ एक्सरसाइज उनके ऊपर चल रहा है, तो बाय जून जुलाई ये टूरिज्म के लिए जो है डोमेस्टिक टूरिज्म के लिए ये खोलना चाहिए, और इसके ऊपर काम भी चल रहा है।
Now remember, opening up areas of the line of actual control by India essentially indicates area dominance and a move to counter China's constant infrastructure building at the border. It also comes amid the very rare praise that Chinese mouthpiece Global Times showered upon the Indian Prime Minister recently after his remarks on the Indo-China ties in a podcast. So where is the India-China relationship headed? Will it move to complete normalcy due to the trade threats that Trump 2.0 presidency brings with it? And what really is the future of this relationship? Let's try and decode this for you. On the broadcast, I'm joined by Ener Tangen. He's a senior fellow at the Thai Institute and chairman Asia Narratives, getting us the Chinese perspective on the show. I'm also joined by Major General A.K. Siwach, a defense analyst, and Pathikrit Payne, geopolitical analyst, joining us. Good evening and namaskar to all of you gentlemen. General Siwach, let me begin with you. How do you see this idea of opening up spots for domestic tourism, at the line of actual controls, active battlefields, spots which have seen military action in the past few years? Do you support that idea? How do you think it's going to benefit the region?
Shreya, I've been a chief of staff for 14 Corps Leh and Ladakh for 2 years. So I know the area completely, and I feel that it is a step in the right direction. The infrastructure development which has taken place in Ladakh it's been remarkable in last about 5 to 6 years. And this has opened a new front as far as tourism is concerned. There are a number of airfields which has come very close to line of control. The roads have come up, bang up till LAC. The tourist spots which were once upon a time never visited by the civilians have now been opened for the tourists to come there. You'll find that tourism will increase. Now, what will be this impact? Threefold. One is the economy of this area will improve. Second thing is that in winters, the people who were very close to the line of control, they used to migrate backward because there was hardly anything to do in winter. Now, with the roads coming there, with the tourism opening up, you'll find it that in winters also tourists coming there, and the people will not migrate. There will be job for them. So this is a very important thing. So opening for tourism is directly proportional to the development which has taken place. And the development is taken place of the twofold. It's not only from the military point of view that your roads have come, your airfields have come, come, your logistic system has come up. It also gives a lot of job opportunity to the locals. It also gives the tourists to come there, and once the tourists come there, the economy automatically improve. So I say it is a multi-pronged strategy. It is paying us very well, and I think this is the best way that improve the infrastructure and improve the basically tourism there, and the people are, as on today, seemingly looks to be extremely happy because the tourism has brought a lot of cheerfulness as far as the economy is concerned. It has developed in a manifold, and I suppose as time come, you will find it more tourists coming, even in remote areas like Nubra Valley, which are unexplored till now, but the roads are coming very fast there, and you will find that the tourists will be coming up till the last spot in the line of control everywhere in eastern Ladakh. Shreya.
General Siwach, you also talked about infrastructure. I think that's very crucial because, my colleague Sahil has also sent us some exclusive visuals of the Noima airfield, which is just about 34 kilometers from the LAC. It has been built by the BRO, and we all know that BRO has been doing a commendable job at the LAC. But let me also get in Einar into this discussion. Einar, what's the Chinese perspective on this? Of course, we've had tensions at the border. India and China have moved towards easing them out one step at a time, if not completely at the moment. But does it concern you? Does it concern the Xi Jinping government in China that there will be a boost in domestic tourism, and therefore its ripple effects will be seen in other sectors as well?
Not at all. I think the normalization of this area is very important to the long-term relationship of two countries. Remember, this border will not disappear. India and China will be living next to each other. The question is, how do they deal with any kind of differences that arise? As Modi put it, there's more in common than there is apart. That neighbors will often disagree, but it can be settled through dialogue, not through violence.
Okay. Pathikrit, do you want to come in on this? There is, of course, a lot of talk about how we need to move towards a healthy, constructive neighborhood as far as India and China are concerned. But is opening up doors to domestic tourism enough for us to sort of, counter China in this particular region?
There are two aspects to it. Movement of tourists doesn't mean that military deployments are coming down. So both of them can go hand in hand. Secondly, one of the biggest problems that India has always faced in the border areas is that people tend to move away into the larger cities because of lack of economic opportunities. So as part of the vibrant village model that India started a few years back under Prime Minister Modi's initiative, one of the key aspects has been to ensure that you have economic opportunities in the border region so that people do not move away from those places, because they eventually act as an eyes and ears of your armed forces. But at the same time, if you look at it, invariably you have to have a sense of normalcy, and that's why it is also being done. If you look at from the larger context of Indo-China relationship, I strongly believe that China is an adversary but not an enemy. There will be areas of convergence, there will be areas of divergence, and there will be areas of status quo, but you have to go along. And the credit for this goes to both the governments, both the Chinese government and the Indian government, that in spite of the challenges that came up in 2020, both the countries took initiative to have dialogue at the military commanders level and ensure that slowly but steadily, things are improved. There are no scopes for misunderstanding. So I think all these things will go simultaneously. Military deployments, de-escalation does not mean that demobilization. The demobilization of army on both sides have not happened, and which is fine. And at the same time, because there are no scope for surprises then. And at the same time, tourism also ensures, when the Chinese are opening up, journey for Kailash Mansarovar visit by the Indians, I see no reason why we cannot normalize situations in Ladakh. And vibrant village model is, Ladakh is one part of it itself. And let me also tell you, there's a truth, and which Prime Minister also had mentioned, there's a 2,000-year-old history of exchanges, cultural exchanges, and not just trade between China and India. There's a person called Kumara Jiva, 2,000 years back. He translated, scriptures, the Buddhist sutras from Sanskrit into Chinese language. So I think we need to get into that as well. Yes, there will be areas of divergence, there will be discussions, there will be differences of opinion, there will be at times tensions, but like good neighbors, like good brothers, you need to sort it out. And that's why this tourism is very important to ensure people don't move out. The biggest problem, let me tell you, into the entire
But
stretch of
Patikrit, can I
Indo-China
also
border is
understand from
people
you
moving
then?
out.
Can I also understand from you then, do you think that this is, too little too late as far as building up the LAC infrastructure is concerned?
Well, Shreya, I believe that from 2014 onwards, an enormous amount of effort has been made by Modi government to improve the infrastructure in the borders. Unfortunately, before that, from 1960s onward, we had a terrible policy of scorching earth policy, so that you do not, develop infrastructure in the border at all, just to ensure that your enemy, if it comes inside, they can't move into the hinterland. That was a faulty policy that ensured that people deserted the border areas. They remain empty. There are hundreds of villages in the Indo-China border in Uttarakhand which are empty because there is no economic opportunity. From 2014 onwards, the kind of infrastructure built up by Border Road Organization that has been done, it has been commendable. And at the same time, by ensuring that you have satellite telephony, you have digital connectivity at a higher level, by ensuring that you bring tourists back into those areas, so that, and tourists coming also ensures the locals stay behind. The locals are actually one of the biggest suppliers of essential materials for the army itself. So for the army to stay in those border areas, it is important for the people to stay back, because they are the ones who can give this local logistical support. And for people to stay back, they can't depend on the army alone. You require other opportunities. Ladakh being a sensitive region, you cannot have industry over there. So one of the best things that you can do is to ensure tourists. And in today's era, a lot of people are traveling they're very interested to travel in the border regions. The fact that people are confident to travel in the border regions itself is an indication that things have normalized considerably. And the normalization happened is because both the countries, including China, they have realized that it's futile to talk about war. Both the countries are nuclear capable. Both the countries have capacity to reach other's capital. And that's why there is mutual respect today, which is good. But I reiterate, there will be differences at time, and you have to live with it. Back to you, Shreya.
And therefore, General Siwach, there will be differences from time to time, and it's normal, even between two human beings, there are conflicts. These are entire countries that have differences. But as Prime Minister Modi said, these differences should not turn into disputes. And therefore, how do you see this moving forward? China right now, of course, hasn't opened up its doors at the LAC for domestic tourism. But if they do, what's the kind of, impact? Do you see any impact at all? Do you see, revenue generation on that side being used to strengthen the infrastructure on the LAC from their side, and vice versa?
Very correct. Shreya, no doubt. See, as far as the India side is concerned, we are developing infrastructure not only in Ladakh, we're starting from Ladakh to Arunachal Pradesh, a complete line of action control. You find these vibrant villages coming, roads coming bang up till LAC. You find that for tourists, even the hospitality industry is looking after that. But at the same time, we have to understand it took us time, because there are 2-3 reasons. Why it is that one is that we should have a capacity to also build these roads. It wasn't very easy to build up this road. And second thing is also basically the intention of the government, when they wanted that yes, we should be strong on the line of action control. Things have changed, especially in Modi era. You'll find the way we have started developing our infrastructure, the way we have now developed the road bang up to LAC, and we have made a vibrant villages. We have also created another infrastructure so that people can be dependent on that. The agriculture has come in a big way. The hydro projects have come. Now, as far as India is concerned, we have done extremely good in this field. And not only that, like the point which you were saying, the dispute, sort of differences should not become a dispute. And this is what the lesson which I learned by both the countries, for India and China. You find that in Eastern Ladakh, the Chinese have come in April 2020, but now the disengagement has taken from all the friction point, and it is a status quo what was in April 2020, and especially in Gogra Hot Spring and north and south of Pangangso, it was done earlier. Now you find it that it has been also done in Depsang and Damchok. Our patrolling goes up till those traditional points. Now it is also happening in Chinese side. Now, I can say that what is happening Indian side, the Chinese are also opening up. Now, let me tell about the Chinese. Chinese are building up a Western highway very close to their line of control, second Western highway. They are also connecting it with the railway line. So I'm sure the tourism is also going to come from there. I feel in time to come, there may be some trade points even in Ladakh, which will start it rather than only having a restricted point where India and China can start doing the trade from Ladakh only, because the development is taking place not only on one side. Chinese were doing it in earlier in any way, but the Indians have started in last 10 years, but we are fast catching up. And we are fast catching up in from the military point of view and also from the tourism point of view. And you find it, the development which is taking place in Ladakh especially is considerable. Now, Neoma airfield, which you said, I saw it coming in 2008, 2009, when it has taken up the shape and now it has come in a full way. There are civilian aircraft which will be also landing there. The Nubra Valley has been opened up for the civilian tourism, which was not, it was an interline permit. So our philosophy, the government philosophy is that the tourists should able to go each and every part of Ladakh, be it the central sector in Arunachal Pradesh. I must mention something about Arunachal Pradesh. You know, the philosophy of Arunachal Pradesh is that we did not develop it for first 40, 50 years, thinking the Chinese will come. But now we have developed in such a way that not only that we have made infrastructure there, made road, our defenses are formidable. So therefore, we have already sent a very strong message to Chinese. But at the same time, we want to maintain very good relation with China. We want to be basically a cooperative and a competitor, and we want to help each other in development. I think a very strong message has gone when Prime Minister Modi as well as Xi Jinping has met on the sidelines of BRICS in Kazan, and thereafter you find that there was a summit which was there taken place in Beijing about the special representative. Then both the secretaries have also met, and you find the relationship are going upswing, and the requirement of the day is we need to cooperate with each other.
So, General Siwach, both sides are making the effort towards peace and towards easing out the tensions. But Ena Tangen, in the past few months, we've seen India and China moving towards reconciliation, some sort of reconciliation. There was also a very rare praise for the Indian Prime Minister when he said that India and China should be constructive neighbors on that podcast. Global Times put out an article praising the Indian Prime Minister for the kind of approach that he has towards India-China ties. And therefore, do you see this, do you see the two countries now moving closer, specifically under the Trump 2.0 presidency? Because we know that there are several risks that come along with Donald Trump, including the big tariff threat.
Absolutely. I mean, this has been 57 days since Trump has taken power, and instead of trying to treat allies and friends as trusted entities, he's embarked on tariffs on everybody. His threats against India are bizarre, to say the least. India has been fairly friendly to Washington, but I think there's a growing realization that there's a difference in culture between the West and the East. In the East, it's about consensus. How do we solve things? We're neighbors. We're not going away. We have to reach an understanding that is supported by both sides. Where often in the Western side, it's basically, I tell you what to do because I'm stronger than you are, and you have to listen. So I think Modi is being very balanced. He's not ending relations with the U.S., nor is China asking him to. It is simply, he's acting in the best interests of what he believes India is long-term, and that means coming to terms with a neighbor. And I think this is exactly what is needed. China is not making any demands on India having this tourism, as my colleagues have pointed out. It is a boon to the domestic economy. And, this is why governments exist, to try to help their people, give them a path towards prosperity. I think this is all good. It's a beginning. It's not the end. There will always be some frictions, differences of opinion, as Modi has pointed out. But the solution is not armed conflict, as we have seen in Gaza and Ukraine and all the endless wars that have been started by the U.S. It is about dialogue, because in the end, it is always about dialogue. You're always at the negotiation table in the end, and there has to be some. So why do people have to die before you get there?
Okay, and that is exactly what the Indian Prime Minister has been reiterating time and again, that dialogue and diplomacy is the way forward, not war. We leave it there. Hopefully the two sides will reach a logical conclusion to the tensions that they see at the line of actual control. Thank you very much to all of you gentlemen, Enar Thangen, General Siwach and Pathikrit Pain, for joining us on Global Mirror and sharing your perspective. With that, ladies and gentlemen, it's a wrap on this broadcast. Thank you very much for joining us tonight. Bye-bye. Next up is Sneha Koshi with Beyond the Headline.